So let's talk a little bit more about some of those challenges in achieving Energy Star. Thomas and his team has a whole lot of experience in the field, doing 40% of these across the country. So Thomas, can you share some of your thoughts on this?
Yep. Thank you, Sai. Through both personal experience and working with our team, working within the industry for years now, we see, and you'll see here across a couple slides, six of the most common challenges that we have related to Energy Star certification. Some we briefly touched on earlier. Others may be, this is the first time you're hearing of them, but I like to point out early and often what you are expecting when you go to the division, or potentially even a layer down when you are going to a department within the division that is dealing with trades. um, these are what you can kind of expect to be the hurdles placed in front of you. The first, just due to the nature of our business, is that if you're a large production home builder, you likely have a almost completely decentralized organizational structure or a mostly decentralized organizational structure. With doing that, you tend to find that some of the build organizations have more of a thou shalt philosophy and will mandate things like Energy Star compliance. Others will say, we have a certain amount of trust and verify with our divisions, where they're going to see if Energy Star is the right pathway for them, and they're going to provide that analysis back to us to say whether this is cost effective or not. I have also heard many times that because of the nature of how tax credits work, that the division perceives these solely as a cost increase related to feature upgrades, a cost increase related to the mandatory requirements of the program, a process challenge related to inspections that now need to be scheduled and may be perceived as slowing the construction process. And after all that is gone through, they don't see the benefit of the tax credit. So instead, it looks as though it's only impacting the divisional P&L in a negative manner. So this is a one that we really want to suggest that you think through how you achieve, a corporate or national strategy while still honoring and giving that division autonomy to each one of those divisions. The next is kind of a subset of that, which is just the financial side of it. What we have ran into and what we have heard in the industry again is, as there is a larger undertaking to a 45L strategy, how and who is this paid for? Historically, there wasn't a centralized budget for this. So when you look at how to manage a centralized process for both researching and validating the certification process, it becomes a matter of, well, is there a budget from a 45L group at the corporate office? Is there a regional group that's going to be focused on this, or is it the division paying for that to kind of prove and test if they're going to be a good candidate for going down this roadmap? The other, again, is, as I alluded to on that first bullet point, is how do we show credit or show value back to the division? We've heard some creative ideas related to allotting a percentage of tax credits captured back to the divisional P&L. We've heard it feeding into a bonus pool for participating divisions. There's a few other methods that we have heard of to drive the right incentives towards that division to capture this. Either way, that is a key piece that generally comes up in the larger conversation related to 45L strategy. That next bullet point is going to be the IRS audit risk. And I'd actually say that this relates kind of to two pieces. One is, when you look at the quality of program execution, there is a lot that can go wrong in the certification process if you don't tackle it very early in the process to say, here are the features that we purchased. We now know that through energy modeling, we can perform to the program. Now, how do we actually execute, where we know how to schedule things, what checklist items are going to be looked at in the field, what we do with failing or correction items, and how we handle, general field failures and rescheduling processes. Those are key to a successful execution of the Energy Star program. And then as it relates to potential audit risk, we're also looking at making sure that the trades that are participating do hold the correct credentials and accreditations, that they have properly filled out their documentation, and that is housed for the mandated amount of time, so that every one of these tax credits can be proved if necessary. And then just maintenance. And what I mean by maintenance here is that as codes update, Energy Star, Zero Energy Ready Homes, these programs update, wanting to make sure that any new version or revision is gone through with a fine-tooth comb and is again put back through the filter to make sure that you have a process of execution within your construction teams. Go to the next slide, Si. The next three hurdles that you are facing or likely to face would be one that's very common, and that's inaccurate initial analysis. This is a big one, especially as it relates to markets that may be less familiar with high performance certification programs. You may find that there is either a cost of change fee, as many of us have experienced. Change is sometimes painful, and in order to avoid that, we may find at times that pricing and bids come back and don't quite align with expectations. But that's because maybe our trade partners don't want to participate in this program, or are worried that this is going to cause too much disruption for them, and therefore they have to put in a greater than expected pricing buffer in that cost of change. Others may be that they just don't have clear direction and interpretation on the program requirements, and therefore they're pricing things that may be part of a reference home requirement, but not part of the actual program. And therefore we're getting some bad information out of the gate. So working with somebody who's very experienced with Energy Star and Zero Energy Ready, you're likely to find that there are formulas that work within individual markets or regions, and that you've got trade partners that can deliver on this, although that may require a bit more research there. The next critical element, especially as it related to Energy Star version 3, was their focus on HVAC design and commissioning. This is what drove us to get heavily involved in the mechanical design portion of home building, because there are certain design criteria and requirements related to how we do our HVAC design, things like necessary oversizing, things like installation requirements, etc. When it comes to the design piece of this, you may find that there is not a local expert or a trade that is willing to take this on. So looking to a third party or looking to an alternative is going to be a key piece of this. What we have found is that when it relates to kind of a push to get the division over the hump, coming prepared with, hey, I know HVAC designers that can do Energy Star designs for you. So if you don't have a local guy, or your HVAC contractor is not open to that, we can come in and do the designs, sit down at the table with them, and make sure that everybody is in agreement. To me, that is a key piece of success related to Energy Star. You may also find that there's concerns related to, kind of old rules of thumbs from installers versus what the program requirements may be. And it may take a bit of conversation related to, these are properly sized air conditioning and heating systems. And you're going to also see that through the performance of the thermal envelope, that your concern about a reduction in size is actually reduced because the home is built tighter. There's going to be a less opportunity for leakage, and this is going to perform. They may also have shared liability with the designer rather than holding the entire bag themselves. So this is a critical piece in the delivery of that program. And then the last one, Si hit on it in an earlier slide, the mandatory requirements outside of just the performance considerations related to the certification. So there may not be initial pricing done on framing, because they go, great, that's not necessarily a performance change to the home, but there are certain framing requirements, ventilation requirements. A very common pitfall here is bath fans and ensuring that they work. I'll tell you from personal experience, we know that we recommend our clients either are using fans with booster switches on them, or are using a fan that is rated for a higher CFM than is the mandatory requirement, and that helps them avoid field failures. as it relates to other program requirements, one of the key checklist items on the Energy Star program is sealing of the drywall. And I will tell you that is a fun one to figure out who is responsible for that. At times it's very simple, and a lot of builders will tell us, well, that's our drywaller. When you go back and revisit the scope of work, they'll tell you I'm not contracted for that, and it becomes a nice finger pointing exercise. So working through those critical details early on and getting the true cost of the full delivery of the program is a critical step before you commit to it.